Angling is like poetry. Anglers hate contention and love quietness and virtue. Isaac Walton, the father of modern angling, said that 300 years ago in his book, The Complete Angler. How fares this sport of high ideals in Britain today?
Well, I don't mind saying I've made quite a bit of money on it. And what's wrong with that? Everything is a gamble these days, and it adds interest to the fishing.
Yes, money, it seems, and the love of it, that root of all evil, is seriously disturbing the placid waters of Britain's 3 million anglers, dividing the sport into two hostile camps. In the north, Walton's love of quietness and virtue has been forgotten. It's money, big money, to be won on bets and pools organized by the angling clubs that counts.
135.
In the south, they say betting and angling just don't mix. If you do try to mix them, the spirit of angling suffers. Popular angling matches in the north, like this one on Lincolnshire's River Welland, with over 1,000 competitors attracted by money to be won on bets and prizes, take over mile upon mile of good fishing waters at weekends. And as fishing becomes more popular, so it is becoming more difficult to find somewhere to fish, especially for the lone fisherman who doesn't want to enter competitions. Angling, say the southern purists, is a peaceful pastime that everyone should be able to enjoy. On the River Thames, for instance, from Staines to Teddington Lock, a royal charter permits anyone to fish, providing they respect the fishing bylaws laid down by the Thames Conservancy. But on most angling waters in Britain, fishing is strictly controlled. A permit from 2 and 6 a day and upwards, and also sometimes a rod license are required. To help meet the needs of thousands of anglers in London and the home counties, old sand and gravel pits are being landscaped and stocked with fish to make some lovely, peaceful fishing waters. Most anglers in Britain do not fish for the pot. They retain their catch in a keep net, and at the end of the day, having recorded the total, they put the fish back. But here lies the difference between the northern and southern fishermen. Most southern rivers have a minimum size limit on fish to be retained. If the catch is under the limit, it must go straight back. Northern match fishing is all in. The smallest fish helps to swell the weight of the total catch. And it's the total catch which counts when it comes to bets and prize money. Small fish are usually young fish, and keeping them in a net, often with a big one or two for some hours, can damage their scales. Damage which many southern anglers claim could prove fatal or cause fish diseases. Such diseases might eventually affect the entire fish population of the river. Mysterious fish diseases have been spreading through Britain's northern and midland rivers over the last few years, ruining the fishing for everyone in those areas. But what do the scientists, who can study fish in captivity as well as in their natural state, say on this question of size limits? One fishery officer of an area which allows all-in fishing and still has plenty of healthy fish in its rivers says size limits are unimportant. The number of fish in a given volume of water, he contends, is controlled by nature, and no matter what man does by restricting sizes taken or overfishing, in the long run, the quantity of fish will remain the same. Many angling waters, especially enclosed waters such as lakes, are regularly stocked with young fish. But here, once again, this fishery officer feels that enclosed waters are more inclined to become overstocked with a scarcity of feeding and the inevitable decline in the health of the fish. So culling or thinning out of stocks is carried out on these waters every 2 or 3 years. And so the confusion goes on. The predators, like these large pike that live on small fish, are put back into the lake. The mass of small young fish are taken away in tanks and put into one of the authorities' rivers, where they'll have more living space, and where they may also help some match angler to collect 100 to 200 pounds for a day of highly skilled fishing. For make no mistake about it, although match fishing may not be in the true spirit of Isaac Walton, it can be highly skilled. Perhaps all these contradictory views on one aspect of Britain's angling scene are typical of the whole question of big money prizes and betting in all forms of sport in Britain today. Over the last 5 years, gambling in Britain has increased by 50%. Are we then becoming a nation of gamblers rather than sportsmen? The Reverend Gordon Moody of the Church's Council on Gambling has no doubts.
Gambling is organised in connection with many of our sports. It becomes a predominating interest for many people, and the sporting interest suffers. The results can be tragic. Some years ago, 10 men went to prison for fixing the results of football matches after they'd been got at by people who had money on the games.
Of course, gambling on angling hasn't reached anywhere near such stages of desperation, although there has been talk, if size limits were generally imposed, of stretching a small fish here and there. But seriously, for the really keen angler who lives in a city, a good day's fishing can cost from £4 to £5, including bait and travelling expenses. And it is these expenses that many of them are trying to recover on their bets. Very few are as skilled or as lucky as Ken Smith of Norwich, who landed £1,000 from 3 matches. This windfall took him from a job in a factory to running his own tackle shop.
If anyone thinks that winning money at fishing takes the pleasure out of it, they're very much mistaken. If you get a good catch, you win both ways. Some people back horses. I prefer to back myself.